Hello everyone.
Hello.
Hi. My name is Kat and you can call me Kat Lausche or just Kat, as you prefer. I'm a librarian here at MUST Library, and if you have any questions and maybe you cannot express as so well as in Chinese, you can direct your questions to Library IC, which is in the back row. And maybe you guys already know. Maybe not. Maybe. If you guys cannot hear me, you guys can also say, and I will turn on the microphone. But my voice is very loud, so I think it should be okay. Yeah. So this presentation is about two specific databases, Britannica and Gale, and they are general knowledge databases. The aim for this presentation is just so you guys can know how to function with them, and we will also do some exercises here in the class, just for a few brief things. Okay, so some of the first important questions I want you guys to think about is, how do you guys search for what you want on a daily basis? How do you search for this knowledge? And what kind of knowledge are you guys usually looking for? What are the best sources? And what will we do with the knowledge we acquired? And of course, these questions are directed to the university ones. I mean, you guys are already in the university. You guys, even though of course you have a lot of scientific knowledge or very specific knowledge, you guys have to deal with this with some also basic knowledge, some general knowledge. Most of the times when we go through life, we have certain situations where we think, oh, I know something. But how do you know that something? Is it from the internet? Is it a reliable source? Did you ever read it in a book, or was it just because someone told you? What differentiates the general knowledge, the reliable one, for the unreliable one? There are plenty of sources. You know, nowadays we have Wikipedia, we have websites from independent sources. I mean, there's huge amount of knowledge we cannot even grasp. The internet is full of knowledge, but how is this knowledge affecting your daily life? And are you saying something? Are you writing something that, can you prove it? How much can we actually be sure that your basic knowledge is the correct one, is the basic one that you know your teacher or your colleagues will see as reliable, as trustworthy, as well-founded? This is the important thing to gather if you are going to go through your life. So the first one we are going to talk about is Encyclopedia Britannica Academic, and the second one is Gale Virtual Reference or Gale ebook reference. Okay, so the first one, Encyclopedia Britannica, is actually a very old encyclopedia. It has mainly 255 years, and before it was online, it was actually printed. You know, back in the day when people didn't have access to internet, people used to write in books the knowledge they knew, for sure. And these books were not just written by someone, they were written by scientists, they were written by people who knew what they were talking. So this knowledge was scientifically proven, even though maybe it's the most basic thing, but even how to say hello, you would have people who are specialists in how you say hello, what is the correct pronunciation, and why certain countries say hello in a way or with a different accent. All of these knowledge that seems very basic to us now was all written in books, and there will be a lot of editions. So from years to years, or maybe from 10 years to 10 years, all this knowledge will be recycled and updated. And so this is, for example, the story of Britannica. And they would update this knowledge very continuously. Of course, now they do it online, but back in the day it was books. So you guys can imagine going through many years and the books are updated. It takes so much time. There needs to be so many people to update this knowledge because there are too many specialists and the knowledge just keeps growing. The more you know, the more you realize you don't know that much. And this is the fact. There's also a funny thing, which is this encyclopedia has micropedia and macropedia, which is basically a more specific areas or more larger areas of knowledge. Hello to you.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. So we are just going to see some of the general tools that you can access through this database, and some of the special ones that, you know, maybe you guys would not really notice, but it may be useful for you in the future. So this is the general outlook, and as you can see from, I will later access the website, but now, just for now, the presentation I think should be okay. So actually, these general database knowledges are very straight to the point. You have everything that you need to know within the main page. So the main features you have, which immediately you have the searching ability. Then you can also choose if you want to search articles, dictionary, primary sources, journals. You also have the word atlas, the comparison of countries, which is a very great tool for geographic comparison. You also have some important things happening. So for example, this database in this case selects maybe an event per week or per day that maybe has some, I don't know, relevance, either political, economical, social, it depends on what they choose. In this case, for example, that I took this picture, we have the Vladimir Putin, you guys know, from Russia. You guys also have news and updated articles. So for example, all these articles in news are all the articles that have been updated on that day or more recently. So you guys can, if you are looking for something very generic and not very specific, you guys can just click here. And then you have some recommended primary sources. This is like some more specific and interesting content, because this content is related with historical events or things that may be interest, but not specifically for the day, but has some relevance historically. Then the next one, okay, this is me repeating, so let's just move on. When you go down the page, when you scroll down, oh, by the way, if I'm talking too fast, just raise your hand and tell me, teacher, please. Anyway, if you scroll down the page, you have some, you have some news from New York Times and from BBC News. Britannica is British, so you guys will find that, of course, BBC News, they probably use the current things that are happening in the world. So they will update this very regularly. So probably day-to-day basis, they will update this. And then you guys will have some recommended primary sources and also Britannica contributors. And here the interesting thing is, if you notice, you see a lot of important characters from worldwide today. So you see here Bill Clinton and Desmond Tutu. These are all important people who are specific and who, of course, are people that are important in their own fields. For example, Bill Clinton is about politics and Desmond Tutu is about religion and well-being. So this is how the main thing is. When you do a search, and if you remember, you can search on this box here. In my case, I search about that. I know, shocking. You can choose from what really interests you. In this case, you have articles, you have images, you have videos, dictionaries, journals, periodicals, websites, and ebooks, and even an year in review. So the first outlook that you guys see is all a little bit of mixed up. You guys see the dictionary, which will define what the word that you search for means. You guys will see sudden, for example, sudden death infant syndrome, which is a pathology, which is some subject related with the term you search. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is what you guys looked for, but it's related. And you guys, of course, can, if you guys have no interest, specific one, you guys can just browse and search the images, the definition, or other links. But if you guys, for example, find that you want something more specific, you guys of course can search it within the search box. Or if you guys, for example, want something specific, like maybe say an article, you guys are from medicine and you guys want to search some kind of scientific article, you guys can just come here and search for journals or periodicals. Or if you guys want to know the articles that were most used on for example, a specific year, let's say 2017, you guys go here and choose year in review, and then choose for the year that you guys intend to search. Also, the good thing about this general database is that you guys can follow your own search. For example, you guys have here on the main page, introducing my research, where you guys can log in or register. You guys can use Google or just create your own account. And actually this will, or up here, and this will help you get the search that you need. For example, you want to search a specific items or specific keywords. You guys take those keywords and save that research, save the things that you found, so you can find them later and you can easily use them instead of having to go back and do all the search again. In this case, you also here have the new and revised articles. Like I told you before, these are articles that, here appear the articles that have been just recently updated. Imagine if you have a big personality, and that personality maybe, I don't know, imagine the Pope in Rome, imagine he died. The scholars that work for Britannica Academic will have to update the page just dedicated to the Pope. So for example, if that happens, that page will appear in new and revised articles. It means that when something happens, when there is a new knowledge, let's say in quantum physics, they discover something about the line theory, it will appear here. Because the scientists that are responsible for these articles, they will update it very consistently. Whenever there is a major breakthrough in economics, or whenever there is something huge happening, imagine, I don't know, a country became part of another country. This will appear here, this will be updated, so you can immediately access the new things that are happening in the world. This is also a good way to keep in contact with what is changing. What happened? What did that person do? What did that country change? So this is a good way for you to keep track of what is happening. Also, another thing is, it's almost kind of like watching the news, I would say. So if there is something new, you can just click there and you will see something new. Later, then I selected this page, which, if you guys can see, is the first one here on the new and revised articles. And just to give you guys a basic walkthrough, this is his name. He's a very big personality in Iraq, and the way it's presented in this case, because he's a personality, what will happen was that they focus specifically on his life, his history, his job, what did he do, how did he affect it, his surroundings and the world. And you can see here that you guys find articles related to him, images and videos, some sort of content related, and also the article history. We are in the article base, and you will see something about the early life and education, his militancy. So for example, what did he do when he was fighting for Iraq? You also have these tools here up. So for example, if you want to favorite, or if you want to print the page, you can do a lot. You can even listen to this. So there's a lot of options. Even with the same personality, I clicked on the related, and you could see, for example, what was he a part of? The Iraqi war, the militia, he is a member of what? Who were the personalities that were related to him? For example, Saddam Hussein and Nouri al-Malik. So you guys will find a lot of information related to that person. The article history is just for you to know who updated what and on which date. So for example, the reason why this appeared is because it was updated in 2019, October 7. The contributor was Adam Zaidan, and you guys can click on this man and check what has he done, why is he important for Britannica, what kind of personality is he, and you can check what he updated. So this is very useful because you know the update is trustworthy. You know this update was done with sources that people base their knowledge on, newspapers, articles, things that happen actually, and you don't second guess, oh, did that person update? Is it true? For example, in Wikipedia, you cannot be 100% sure that that knowledge is true. You don't know who updated it. You don't know why they updated it. What kind of agenda did the people did this? So here you know it's trustworthy. People will give their identity and say, no, I updated this with this because the information is true. The information is well-founded. So you guys can trust this. After the article, you can also check about article contributors. So for example, this usually is related with the first person who wrote this. And in this case, it was an adjunct professor of political science, so it makes sense. Another thing is the Britannica about the primary recommended sources. If you guys go back to the main page, is that you guys have a lot of trivia about history. So for example, things that might generally interest you. And in this case, I chose the Egyptian Book of the Dead. And this book is actually very known. And I just thought it was funny because it's such an old book. Maybe not everyone knows about this, but it's something that, you know, for your trivia or just for you to get to know a little bit about other cultures and other people, you guys can check them out. Also from the news, remember I told you that there was news from New York Times and news from BBC News. You guys can easily access them. And for example, in this case, I selected one from BBC News. And that says UK prepares for breakdown in talks with EU. And when I did this presentation, the news had only been from 33 minutes ago. So this is immediately updated with the news from a trustworthy news agency. So you guys don't, you know, if you guys don't want to bother to read the news like from every newspaper, just select some or just go to the general databases. They will give you, well, of course, it's biased because it's from England, you know, you cannot always be sure, but if you just want to not waste your time, you can just come here and you know that the news will be at least from that day, if not sooner. Then I will talk about the two special tools that Britannica has that I think you guys might find interesting, which is the World Atlas and comparison of countries. These are two tools usually that other databases maybe not have, but because these are general knowledge databases, they make use of it, and I think very well actually. So the first World Atlas is you click there on the World Atlas, and you find, of course, a map of the world. And for example, in this case, I searched about Macau. You just click here and type Macau, and you guys will have a lot of information. And this is basic information. This is just population. This is about the money, the religion, you know, how, even here, you know, urban, rural population, the life expectancy. These are like economic indicators. They're very basic, but at least you have them. And you don't need to go and try to search for Wikipedia or other pages that usually you don't know if that knowledge has been updated for how long. So this specific one will be very straight to the point, and you can even select if you go, of course this is a profile, and then if you want to click on the related, you see the countries that, or the pages that are more related to Macau, which is China, of course, Asia because it's a continent, and then the World Heritage Sites because Macau does indeed belong, or I mean, is considered a UNESCO heritage site. Then what we can do is, besides this one, remember we have the comparison of countries. and when you click of the comparison of countries, for example, you can choose 2 countries. In this case, I chose Macau and Iran, and you can see their comparisons. Actually, this is really useful. If you are doing some kind of studies that you have to study about 2 countries or 3 countries, you can do this very easily because all the data is here very well explained. You have the same economic or some economic indicators, for example, like population, the monetary unit, the area, the population, life expectancy, or even literacy percentage. So this is very useful, for example, for someone who is in economy or even in the humanities, social science area subjects. And you just have the whole rundown of each country and you can compare. And this kind of comparison, of course, is not subjective, it's very objective because it's only numbers. But then you can do your own observation, your own subjective analysis of both. You can also select, this is just the stats, and then you can select the articles and media. So, you will see the flags, you will see some maps, you will see some charts, and you can compare. Then you can, of course, extend this by clicking full article, and you will talk about each country very specifically in very detail. Now I'm going to talk more about the back office. So what you see when you do your own research and you save the research for yourself. So of course I logged in, so that is my username. And basically you can create a resource pack. And a resource pack is the way you collect and organize the contents. So for example, you can select, imagine you have an economics class, you can select just a pack, and a pack is more like a collectedness of contents. So you can take your contents and group to a folder, which will be economics. And this is very useful. You don't have to maybe save it on your bookmarks on the computer. It's just on the database, so it will be easily stored there. And you also have, for example, in my case, I selected, well, this was already there, Britannica favorites. Then I selected, for example, reference presentation, and then another one which was my personal interest, let's say Egyptic Hermetic. So in this case, I have in total 4 items. I selected 3 items for my presentation and then 1 for my personal interest. So this can also be the way you do things. Hello. This is just something for you guys to check. This is how you edit the resource pack. You can give it a name, and you can select the subject that most interests you and select the grade. And the grade is from, let's say, for example, you have all types of years. So if you are in university, you can also choose according to your personal interests or your personal subjects. It depends. For example, imagine someone is studying to be a teacher and they want to do a work on how to teach children a specific subject, then they can select the grade that most interests them. You can enter a description, and what happens is that you will see all the articles that you associated with that specific pack. So for example, for me, I selected the pack as my reference presentation, and I selected Vladimir Putin, death, and Mutaraki al-Sadr. So what happens is when I select this immediately appears on my pack. So it'll be super easy to access. Okay, I will show you a little bit just to resume so you guys can access it. This is the main page, and as I told you before, you have articles, dictionary, primary sources, journals and periodicals. This is the special research tools, word atlas and comparative of countries. On this day, they already have a new news. So for example, if we click here, read more, you can see about the Statue of Liberty. So what will happen is you will have the general article, you will have images and videos related, and the article history. So remember, this is who edited. This is all the related items that are not included in the main article. The images and video, you guys can access them here or directly from here. And the article in itself is this one. You guys will have pictures, videos associated, maps. You guys will see a description of who created it, the Statue of Liberty, why was it given to the United States. You guys will see historical pictures. And you guys can, of course, check here and send it to your friends, favorite it, print it, cite it. So for example, if you guys want to use a very basic, you guys are talking about architecture and you guys need this kind of basic information, you guys just come here and cite it to put it in your work, in your research paper. You can translate it. So you can choose this is all in Chinese. You can choose the idiom that you guys want, and then you can also listen to it.
Statue of Liberty, formerly Liberty Enlightening the World, colossal statue on Liberty Island in the Upper New York Bay, U.S., commemorating the friendship of...
Okay, it's enough. You guys can also put the font bigger or down. The related, what can we see from the related? Okay, we can see the architect that built it, we can see where it is, we can see what is it exactly considered as a sculpture, also World Heritage Site. Yeah, so you guys will see a lot of articles that are related with the Statue of Liberty. And then, of course, like I said, you guys can see who edited the article. So this was done in 2019, February 5th. Going back to the main menu, this is where you guys can do your research, news and updated articles. So this was updated today. So for example, let's check Newton, European Space Agency satellite that observes X-ray sources. So it's very interesting. And it was updated today. What did it update? Article revised and updated. So this was a general update. Eric Gregerson, let's click on the contributor. Senior editor, Astronomy and Space, Exploration, Encyclopedia Britannica. So he obviously is an expert, and this is why he edited this article. Then you have the recommended primary sources. There are a lot of different ones. You have, for example, here Declaration of the Rights for Women. Then the news, as I showed you before, and here are the same contributors. When you are doing a search, for example, you can also search very specifically. In the case of the example I showed you guys, I showed like the general articles and everything came up. If you just want the definition, if you want just a basic English definition, just click on the dictionary. If you want just the primary sources, just click specifically there. Because maybe when you click on articles, it will create a lot of noise, so a lot of results will appear. And if you want it more specific, make sure you click onto something that you are aiming for. Is there any questions for this one?
So
Yeah.
I just want to ask the articles of
Yeah.
your net. Is there something difference between your resources from Web of Science on net?
Yes, I mean, this kind of databases, they are a little bit more general. So imagine you search about quantum physics. You will find very general knowledge. I mean, it's correct knowledge, but it's not very specific. Now, what do you want about quantum physics? It depends. So if you want something very, very specific, maybe you want to look for a specific field of quantum physics, then maybe you need to go to Web of Science because they will have the scientific articles from scholars, and this can only sustain you so much. This is if you want to know something and you put it in a work and you want that information, even if basic, to be true. Like for example, if you define quantum physics, if you want to know the people who are related to quantum physics. Then you get that information, but it's very general. It's basic, it's correct, you can trust it, and this is the main difference. Because for example, Wikipedia, you can also search about quantum physics, but you don't know who gave you that information. And not even in Wikipedia, in other websites, you know, who wrote that information for you? Was it a scientist, or was it someone that just thinks he knows about quantum physics and decided to write in Wikipedia? What does it mean? And who is doing it? You know, it's a little bit different. This is general knowledge, but you know it's true. You know it's reliable. Maybe.
I got it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I just want to apply some objection, or maybe I will attend some programs. I have to prepare some knowledge from this website.
Okay.
Some very foundational information. It is very useful. We do not to find in the library to read some books. Just
Yes.
on this website.
On this website. Yeah. Anyone else? Oh, sorry. No? Yeah.
How does that guys work?
How?
Because when people want to update the
Yeah.
information, so if no people want to update the stock,
Probably yes. So for example, what happened before when there was only books, there was not enough people to update the books, and this was a problem. So the encyclopedia the knowledge gets outdated. And so if there is no people, if there is no researchers to update the website, that's what will happen. But the difference is that because it's online, there are people who volunteer, people who are knowledgeable that want to share their knowledge on this database. But for sure, if no one volunteers to do this, it will
it is covered in which area?
you mean in which subject?
For example, I do is covered in China.
China.
Something like.
Yeah, I know.
So this covered in.
This is popular in Western countries, maybe like European countries or United States of America, I would say. Yes. It has a lot of knowledge, for example, for them, or they try. But what we are trying to do is, for example, here in Macau, I think it will also be useful for you guys. Because a lot of the times, especially now, MUST is growing and is becoming more international. You guys may need to do some works or do some, I don't know, research that includes some Western subjects or some things that are not very clear. For example, if maybe Baidu doesn't have all the information. For sure it doesn't, because same with Google. Or maybe you find that Baidu gives you many results, and that's not what you are looking for. You cannot find the right one that you can go here. Yes. Okay. Then let's move to Gale. So Gale Virtual Library, Reference Library, or Gale Virtual eBooks is mostly almost the same. We have some research tools like subjects collection, bookmark lists, search history, highlights, and notes. This is the main page. Right now, actually, the database changed. Before it used to be just reference library, but now they do they are calling themselves Gale eBooks. So it's more specific for ebooks or specific articles that are within some journals and that were published, or putting the audiobook here. The main page, you can find the collections. So you have a lot of subjects. You have from arts to medicine to religion, to economics. I mean, you name it. You have a little bit of everything. And here, the main page, you have like the arts. So for example, they start immediately. This is from alphabetic, by the way, order. So this is why arts appears first. You have the main search here on the top. Language, you can sign in with Google or Microsoft, and here the title list, search history, the links, and the notes. So, for example, for me, I immediately chose the first book here on the arts that we see, books to film, cinematic adaptations of literary works. This is very brief, so the presentation is, you have a brief presentation about the book, and you have immediately here something that you can select the book. In this case, there's only one volume, but as it tells us here on the image, it will be a series. So when there is this kind of sign, you can see that there will be a continuation. So it's not just one book, maybe there will be more. And since they are being uploaded consistently to Gale, you can easily access it. And then also, for example, imagine you know there is something in this book, and let's maybe say a movie like Dracula, for example, which was a book and then transformed into a movie. If you want to know if that specific movie is included, you can just search within the series. And this kind of works like Google Books, because Google Books, if you access it, you also can have the option of search just within just a keyword or just a specific subject within that book. So it will be easier for you to find. So this is very convenient. Then when you click on that book, you still have search within the publication. In this case, you only have within this volume because there's only one. But if you have many, you can search all the volumes. And then the first thing you have is a table of contents. So for example, if you select this, you will see everything that is included in the book. You can also click here to view the ebook like directly, so you don't have to go through this. You have the about the series, about the publication, the table of contents, the book index, and the list of illustrations. So for example, I selected the chapter introduction immediately, so it's more quick. So what you have the title of the chapter, you have the document type, and how many pages does it have? You have the author and editor, and then you have the translate tools, the font size, and the listen again. This one is for sharing or printing, or even downloading, depending if you can, if it's allowed. And of course the text. And here, if you guys notice, you guys can actually select this article. So for example, you guys can cite, you guys can send to someone, download, print, you guys can get the link, and you guys can do highlights and notes. I would say for research purposes, this is much better because the highlights and notes, if you do them within this text, will be saved within the text. So you don't have to go over it several times, and you guys don't have to certainly copy and paste to anywhere else. You guys can just highlight and put the notes, and it will stay here. So whenever you go back to the book, it will stay there. So for example, the example I have here is this one. I wanted to select the first paragraph. You have several options. You have the highlight, you have to take notes, and to cite, for example, if you just want to cite that specific paragraph and you don't want to cite just a specific chapter, you guys can do that. And then you have the option also to delete if you guys no longer are interested or whatever. Also, the interesting thing about the citation is that you guys immediately have the link. So just copy and paste, for example, on your work. So if you guys used it before, you guys don't have to worry too much about doing your own citation. I know this is something that you guys will have to deal in the future depending on what year you guys are. But yeah. And the notes, you guys, this is just the example you added here. And then this is just the delete if you guys are no longer interested. Then you have the listen. If you click here, you can listen to the whole ebook. the good thing about these general databases is that it's good for people, for example, who cannot see. As you guys know, this, you know, a lot of people should have equal rights to access information, but this not always happened in the past because some people cannot see, some people cannot listen. So, you know, if you cannot read, you can at least listen to it. So these databases are really useful for this matter. Then after the article, for example, and if you scroll down, you will have bibliography. So this is very important, and I think this is even better than Britannica because here you know about, because it's an ebook, of course, or an article, at least you see exactly the bibliography, where that chapter and where that article was taken from. This is very useful even for you guys. If you guys are interested in this specific article or book, this is related to your work. So you guys can go to the bibliography and search for these books also. This is to expand even more your knowledge or how to access this. And then you also, if you want to, of course, cite the general article, you guys can also come here to the source citation. Then if we click on the book index, this is also very useful for you because you can enter a term or you can search it from A to Z, so alphabetical order. And this is word by word. So every single word that you think may be useful, for example, you remember that article mentions, I don't know, the Wizard of Oz, or like we saw before, Bill Clinton. You guys can just search for it and will immediately take you to the page where it is included. So you guys can, it's very easy access. If you guys go to the list of illustrations, you guys will see all the illustrations included in the book or in the article. And this is just a list. So for example, if you click on each of the pictures, it will take you also to the page where it's at. So imagine you find a passage, but you don't really remember what was written, but you remember the picture, and it was about two guys, and one is trying is laying on the shoulder of the other guy. You can just click there and it will bring you to the chapter, even though you don't quite remember. But sometimes you have visual memory, you guys can just click on the picture and immediately go there. Another thing that is interesting is, for example, I searched again the topic of death here on Gale ebooks, and a lot of ebooks came up. You guys can also see the results, and if you need to do the advanced search, or if you even need to filter your results. What are you interested in? Do you want specific languages that talk about it? Or do you want just to search publication titles? Do you want to search within the content level or just the document type? This is all things that you can select, and you can, advance your search as you go along, so you don't have such noise within the search results. Another thing that is very interesting about Gale is that they do the topic finder that you guys can see here on your right. And the topic finder is actually a very good tool because it groups the knowledge and the terms in a very smart way, and I will show you how. So for example, before I searched for that term, and you guys will see this very interesting and different, I think, group of content or terms that are in a way all related to each other. So for example, death and dying are related to life, which is related to sex, which is related to research and afterlife and grief and epidemics and pathology and problem of death, and then man in itself. And as you go along, for example, if you are more like of a visual person, you can easily do this and use this tool as a way to help you get to where you want to go, as specific as you want to go. So for example, if you are wondering, if you want to know about life, you want to know about that, but also how is it related to life? So then you click in life, and then you see, like, for example, the process of dying and the functions and the brain death and the fear of death and law and philosophy. And these are all things that each time you go more specific, they will bring you more to the closer and to a more specific result. So this is also very useful for someone who doesn't want to spend too much time reading, but is more like a visual learner and wants to get straight to the point. Of course, the results, as you go more and more specific and as you click, you have different results. And so, for example, the first result we have here is that is the end of life. Dying is the process of approaching that, including the choices in action, etc. This is all more specific as we go along. This is just me. Okay. For example, after that, I clicked on this article here that says that is a fact of life. This statement is once a banal, etc. And it's from Freud. So I'm guessing it's from psychology. And what it appears, it goes immediately to the article that related to my search. So I did this visual search, and what happened is that I ended up in an article that perhaps mirrored what the results I wanted to reach. And not only that, but an interesting thing is that because you found this on Topic Finder, you will have some exploration tools that will relate you to the author, if it's, for example, someone very important, or other related subjects that were found within the article. In this case, you also have highlighted, in red, the word I selected and why is it important. You also have other related terms. For example, like religious beliefs is another related term that might interest me according to what I chose. On the article, you also have conclusion, since this is an article from a psychologist or a psychiatrist in this case. You have see also, and these are all the words that were highlighted in the article that may be related to the theme or the subject I was looking for. So this is a good thing that if you, for example, if you want to expand and if you say, okay, this article was good, but was not quite there yet. I need, like, maybe, I don't know, heaven and hell, or initiation, or I don't know, alchemy, or ancestors. And then you will click each more specific each time. So you don't have to go and search only for the word, but you can just use the tools and use the database because it gives you a lot of help already to find what you want. You don't need to go much further. Then you find the bibliography again, which is also very useful. The source citation. Another thing I found very interesting is that you will find, as you go along and as you scroll down the page, you will find articles which also have index terms related with the article in itself. So for example, I just selected afterlife and this appears in Egyptian religion, and you can check the pages and then just click on the page directly that you want to go to. If you want also more like this, it's a little tool that will bring you to more stuff written by Sigmund Freud. So you can just click on it or see more if you think that those books are not yet what you want. Okay, so now after presenting you this, I just want you to have like a basic understanding that, for example, Wikipedia, Quora, Encyclopedia.com, Reference.com, and even Google or Baidu are not exactly the most trustworthy data. I mean, they are great when you want to know something. Oh, how do I fix a lamp, or how do I fix a wall? Maybe they will be great. But if you are in university, and even for your future life, if you need to work on something, and you need to prove the basic knowledge you have. Why do I know this? What do I know about Mao Zedong? Or what do I know about Hong Kong? Or what do I know about the United States of America? The basic knowledge, for example, like the population, how many people are there? What language does that country speaks? Or the politics involved. You better go to the sources that are trustworthy, that are well thought through, that can be proven, that are real. And this is just to save you time in trying to prove something, You can, of course, maybe your teachers will accept, but if you base something on Wikipedia page, maybe they will not be happy about it. If when there's something like this, you can use these databases work on them and make sure that even something that seems as basic as to prove what language does someone speak, you better go here. So this is how I think you will benefit the most with these databases. It's just, don't think too much, For me, I prefer Gale, but this is just because it gives you more tools, It's more easy to work with. You can highlight, you can write, you can cite directly. But other than that, I would think that if you guys, especially now, so maybe some of you are starting university, maybe others are finishing, but don't waste too much time on trying to search for something that it's already there for you. The knowledge is already there. You guys don't have to go very far away. And this is accessible through MUST library, by the way, on the databases, so it's easily also accessible. Okay, let me just go through you a rundown of Gale just before we. So this is the main page, as I showed you guys before. I accessed this one earlier, but maybe we can try another one. For example, the academic night. Oh, by the way, you guys have here all the collections. But let's click here on this one. So you see the table of contents, and about this publication is the simple one. You guys have, all the information. Even the LC subjects and language, every kind of basic information. Let's go to table of contents, and let's choose, let's say, the 3rd chapter, and then Sino-Indian Institute. Okay, so, like I said before, this is the book. This is the day where it was published. Here you have the document type and how many pages you guys will find. The translation option, font size, the listen part. Let's try if it works. You guys can even download, by the way. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I just click here and I downloaded the chapter. So if you are students of MUST, you can easily access it. It's not working. Wait. Okay, so the Sino-Indian Institute, you guys have the article here. You guys can use this to go to the top of the article. Well, I think it should be pretty easy to follow. This is an article with letters. So you guys just scroll down. And you guys will find the citations, like I showed you before. And here you can have highlights and notes. So in this case, okay, so for example, I want to select this, so I just select this and put highlight in green. And if I want to take notes, I just say save, and whenever you access it, the note will be there. You can also cite it, just copy this, or add something. So for example, this is great if you, like I said, if you don't want to bother too much, you just click cite, you add snippet, and you just copy this into your work. So it will be very easy. And then if you are no longer interested, you delete. And it all goes back to how it was. Let's say students. Let's do a basic search on students and how we find. We can go to start the topic finder here. This is the general search. You can try advanced, but in our case, I want to explain about the topic finder. So you start the topic finder. I think we need to get, oh. Oh, so for example, I search for students, and what you see here is all of these things that are actually related to students. So for example, we have university, movement, school, United States, student protests, college, China, higher education, civil rights, academic achievements. So maybe let's click on academic achievements, even though it's very little. Then we have some student emotions, stages of schooling, college athletics, race, ethnicity, and culture, student mobility, analyzing and predicting student academic achievement using data mining. Let's click on this one, which maybe seems more specific. And then you go back, you go to the book, which is talking about this subject. And like I said, you have the same tools here, and you can just, check and see that the student word is always highlighted, and then some other specifics. For example, like the people who were used in this article was cited in this article. You even have some charts. And here is the references, conclusion, acknowledgement, references. So if you want to search more about this, just go to the references and, for example, search the books that maybe complement better your research, additional reading, key terms and definitions. So this is also great. And this doesn't appear always in everything, but in this case, if the article has some important definitions, they will for sure put it in the article. Source citation, and then like I showed you guys, academic performance, and you guys can check all the pages that this term appears in. And then I believe that's it. Do you guys have any questions? No? Do you guys want to do some exercises or practice by yourselves? What? You want to practice? Yeah. Let me, wait, I need to turn off the, what can we, oh, you guys cannot, okay. Let me try to turn off the, can you guys do it now? Not yet? If I turn it off, should be okay.